Good afternoon, everyone. It's okay. I'd like to welcome you all to Insight CPA, and I would like to thank you for attending because we did speak to the classes and they turned out to be pretty well. Okay, I'd like to introduce Dr. Yass Alkafaji, who is currently a professor of accounting at AUS and has been practicing CPA for more than 25 years. He is an expert on U.S. and international taxation, as well as fraud examination of financial statements and audit quality. He is also an expert on international financial reporting standards, IFRS, and had recently written a book on IFRS that is published by Wiley, and he's writing a second book on the same subject. Dr. Alkafaji is also the founder of Alkafaji and Associates Limited, a public accounting firm based in Chicago. Now, Dr. Alkafaji has written about accounting and auditing issues and published his work in many academic publications. He received his doctorate in business administration in Mississippi State University and his MBA from the University of Texas at Austin. He is a member of many prestigious institutions like the AICPA, Associations of Certified Fraud Examiners, the National Association of Valuation Analysts, and Institute of Internal Auditors. Without further delay, I would like to call upon Dr. Yass Alkafaji.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today. Very impressive attendance. I thank you, the Accounting Society, for trying to rally the troops and bring them to here. I'm going to do is just, I'll give you intense remarks for a few minutes. We'll be able to see maybe a couple video clips, and then I'll introduce one of my students. She's here. She's working on her CPA, and then we'll open up for questions and answers if we will have time. But let me start first with this. Excuse me. Too much chasing here. Why should you become a CPA? These are the points I'm going to be addressing with you today. And for each one of those, I will have a slide later on to elaborate on it. It is a statutory requirement for entry into the profession, leveling the playing field issue, respected as a professional, more job opportunities, earn more income, and stepping stone for different things, such as being a CEO or a CFO of a company. Let me see. Don't see one. This question here, actually, I wanted to ask first, what does CPA have to do with the Oscars? And the answer to that question is a trust. And let me play a brief clip to show that point. Where's the sound?
Actually take you to the counting location because it's secret, undisclosed.
Let me start this all over again here.
There are 6,000 voting members in the Academy, so how do all the numbers get crunched in time for the show? Well, it happens right here at PricewaterhouseCoopers. I can't actually take you to the counting location because it's secret, undisclosed. No one knows where it is. But I can introduce you to the two guys who keep Hollywood's most well-guarded secret. Come on in. PricewaterhouseCoopers has been doing this for 73 years. Well, 73 years, but you two haven't been here for that long. Yeah. Let me introduce you. This is Brad Oltmans and Rick Rosas. These two are the only two people in the world who know the winners before they're announced on stage on Oscars night. That's a lot of pressure, guys.
It sure is, sir.
So here's one of the envelopes from last year. This is the leading actress envelopes. All these get stuffed into these briefcases, and you two guys hold them backstage,
right.
One on each side of the stage.
That's correct.
And you two guys have all the winners not only in the envelopes and the briefcases, but in your heads.
That's correct.
When you're back there.
Yeah.
How long does it take to memorize that? That's a lot of categories.
Yeah, I would say it, Rick and I test ourselves frequently between Friday evening and Sunday morning, and usually by the second time through, at least I have all of them right. Rick usually gets them all right the first time through.
This is a ballot, if you look at, and this is for this year. So you see all the nominees on there. So you guys have like the best kept secret in the entertainment industry for 2 days.
We're proud of that.
All right. The point has been made clearly here is that even the Oscars have to go to a CPA firm to be able to get the ballots counted and the results are introduced. They are those two individuals you saw in the video, and they've been doing it for many years. They said for 74 years they've been coming to Pricewaterhouse to do this. And those the two partners you've seen, the only one would know who would be the winners. They come on the stage, they sit behind the podium, and they are the ones going to hand over the envelopes to the announcers, which will announce the results. Now, the reason this has been done that way, and I think in the United States in particular, there's so much trust and respect for the CPA profession, and that's the point I'm trying to make here. Now, going on with the rest of the presentation, why should you, as a young professional, want to consider becoming a CPA? And, well, first of all, if you want to be taken seriously, it's a statutory requirement, it's a legal requirement for entry into the accounting profession. It's leveling the playing field, and I'll elaborate on that, not filed, field. Respected as a professional, more job opportunities, earn more income, stepping stone for different things such as being a CEO or the CFO, and finally, various career paths, which we will discuss later. The issue of the law. A CPA is required by law, at least in the United States, unlike other certificates. And that point needs to be made very strongly, is that as you think about different designations, CPA, among many others, such as the CA for the UK, and in Australia also they call it the CPA, in Canada they call it CA, they are the same par. But the point here is that you have to be a CPA to be able to prepare and publish financial statements, to perform the audit function, or what we call the assurance services function. Nobody else can. In other words, the other competing certificates would not be able to do that. And the law does not require you, if you want to be a financial analyst, you don't have to have a CFA, right? CFA certificate. If you want to be an internal auditor, you don't have, the law does not say you have to have a CIA. But if you want to be a public accountant performing the audit function, you have to have a CPA or the counterpart in other countries such as the CA or the ACCA. ACCA, I think. Anyway, the profession is heavily regulated. Last week, I was in Abu Dhabi, and I went to the Ministry of Economy. I said, I want to practice my profession. I have an office in Chicago, and I want to open an office here. They said, I cannot. I have to be certified by them. And he handed me a long list of items I have to do for me to be able to hang a shingle and said, Yass Alkafaji, CPA. The government has to approve my application before I'll be able to do that. So many nations, including the United States, Britain, the UAE, the Saudi Arabia, all countries, they consider to be, this is a sacred profession and need to be protected. Many of these countries require minimum education requirement, as you know, that whether it's here or anywhere else, such as the 150 hours, the CPA will require eventually. There's experience requirement you have to meet for you to qualify to practice public accounting. And once you are certified and licensed, then you need to come up with some continuing education on a regular basis. Me, as a CPA in the state of Illinois, I have to meet 40 hours minimum per year continuing education for me to maintain my license. The other point need to be thought about is CPA will erase where did you go to school. You are a CPA, whether you are a Harvard graduate, University of Chicago, or from AUS, or from University of Sharjah, or from University of Karachi. It doesn't matter anymore. A CPA is a CPA, so that levels the playing field, as I put it. And so also CPA is an international designation. One of our students we tried to contact, he passed all the 4 sections in one sitting last year. And we wanted him to come here as a guest speaker. He's in Washington, D.C. With, I forgot Samuel. Where is he? Where is Samuel? Samuel here in the room? Oh, he's not to be fun. He contacted him, and I think he is with KPMG. And he has now been sent to perform some audits in the United States. So it's truly an international designation. It will open up a lot of doors for you in that aspect. Obviously, as a CPA, it's not an academic certification, but it will give you additional education, additional requirements if you choose to. Now, I mentioned that if many of us want to be CPAs, the reason I wanted to be CPA, I wanted to be looked upon as a professional. And if you look at the definition of a profession is a vocation founded upon specialized educational training. Professions are typically regulated by a statute. Now, this is out of Wikipedia, and so in here, it's a vocation, it's a training rooted in education, but normally it is protected by the law. And so that's a powerful thing you need to think about as you consider different certification in the market. Being a CPA and being a professional accountant will open up so many opportunities for you for a job. The U.S. News and World Report declared just recently, the last few issues of it, it says best jobs in 2012. Accountant, and that's a quote, is one of the best jobs of 2012. This profession should see significant growth over the next decade. And I'm giving you the citation over here. You can look it up online. And so that's a powerful thing when the U.S. News and World Report says, hey, this is something you need to think about seriously going forward. The U.S. Labor Department outlook on accounting, it says there will be an annual growth of 15.7% through 2020. More than 190,000 accountants are needed in the USA alone. The pay, according to the U.S. Department of Labor, the 75th percentile, they make more than $81,000 per year. The median is $61,000, and the bottom 25th percentile makes $47,000. So that's pretty good, pretty respected starting salary. And I know you're going to say, well, not in this market, and I agree with you. This will have to change for this to happen as things globalizing. I think the reasons for this high demand on the accounting skills is many things happening in the States, at least. I speak about my experience there. The Sarbanes-Oxley Act. As you all know, you may or may not know that Sarbanes-Oxley came in 2002, resulted from the crisis we've seen in the late 90s, 1900s, 1990s, up to 2000, the Enron crisis. The U.S. Congress decided to regulate heavily the accounting industry. And everybody said the accounting industry with the collapse of Arthur Andersen is going to be dead. Far from it. In fact, that has reinvigorated the accounting profession heavily. There's more and more demand on our skills. They need inspectors, they need seasoned accountants, auditors, fraud examiners, all kind of things needed because of the Sarbanes-Oxley Act and the establishment of what they call the PCAOB, PCAOB, the Public Accounting Oversight Board, PCAOB. That's one dynamics. The other one is the fraud. If you've seen so many fraudulent cases we have uncovered every year, every day, including in this country. And who's best to handle the situation than the skills level of a CPA? The training you get in auditing is grounded in the fraud examination. I'm a fraud examiner myself. I'm a certified fraud examiner, but I would not go into it without first be trained as an auditor. Then I can move up to a higher level. So there's a huge amount of opportunities. I just came from Abu Dhabi giving a 2-day workshop to the Securities and Commodities Authority on train their employees on how to uncover fraud in financial statements. That's very powerful when you see the federal government is sensitive to these things. So there will be plenty of opportunities for you. And obviously, when the economy is doing well, everybody is making money, everybody is happy. But when the economy is not doing well, everybody starts to pinch the penny. And as a result, they come to the accountants to stream their operation and cut on the costs. So to them, you are an investor. Bring more accountants, and that's where we save more money. So I think these are the reasons why we're having the high demand on accounting careers. And for you, as you enter into the profession, you can take 2 routes over here, either public accounting or private, or what we call corporate accounting. Now, public accounting, this is it's a very large industry, very powerful. It's going to be there for many, many years ago, whether there's upside or downside of the economic activities. It's not like the stock market is up, you'll have more brokers, more financial analysts. The stock market is down, you fire everybody. The banking industry, you don't have that. In accounting, you really have a stable environment. And so auditing and assurance is the best thing. That's what my advice to you. That's what you need to start. And I know you're going to say the pay is low, the long hours, the working conditions are not the best, but consider it to be as part of your training. You need that to become a seasoned, well-rounded professional. Take a look at the medical profession. They finish their MDs and they take them another 3, 4, 5 years, just like enslaved in rounds. They work 40 hours continuously. They don't sleep at night, and they still take all that pressure because they know the outcome will be great for them. Once you get the auditing under your belt, then you can go into consulting. That's where the happy environment is. That's what everybody wants to be. If you want to continue with the auditing mentality, forensic accounting, or what we call the forensic or fraud examination, is a growth area. Everybody is looking for seasoned auditors and fraud examiners to be hired. Obviously, in the United States, it's a big thing, tax. And you know what? Tax in this country is coming. We know it is coming. It is a matter of time, be it VAT or be it income tax or what have you. So taxation is going to be very important. And obviously, financial statement preparations and accounting. In my office, we do so many financial statement preparations. Between the tax and what we call compilation of financial statements, will keep all of my staff busy year-round. And so that's a skill highly needed. Companies, especially small businesses, owners, they don't know how to prepare a financial statement to give to a bank, or even for themselves. And so they come to us for doing that. Litigation support services is a great growth. I've done so many of that, being an expert witness, whether it's a divorce or there is a fraud examination and you need somebody to testify. Litigation services is a huge growth area. And business valuation, companies buy and sell. If the United States, when somebody died, the estate need evaluation, so accountants get involved with that and what have you. Now, if this is not for you, and this is, as I said, hard work, but the demand is there. The demand is huge out there. Private accounting is when you start. You're not going to start as a CFO. Let's not kid ourselves. Even with a CPA, you need practical experience. But you start, a lot of time what's happening is that people start with public accounting, they work 2 or 3 years, and then they move in private accounting. So if you are a senior or a manager, you can move up as a controller or as a CFO of a company in the private sector. And I've looked at some statistics, amazing actually. 10% of the CEOs in the United States they were practicing CPAs. 75% of the CFOs end up, they have some type of CPAs. Not here, this is chief financial officers. It's not the financial analyst who's going to be the CFO of a company. It's the accountants who's going to be controlling this area. According to an article in Hong Kong, that 40% of the CFOs, they are CPAs or CAs, chartered accountants. So CFO is the top position. You can be sitting on the board of directors of many companies. The controller is one level down. That's where you'll be in charge of the accounting department. And then, of course, most of you will end up working first as a management accountant, and then you move up to the higher ladder. Let's see. I wanted to show you another clip about public accounting. But before I go there, let's see if you have questions. Yes, sir.
What are the requirements? And you said there was a student that started early, right?
Yes.
So when exactly can you start? When is the right time?
Now.
Right now.
Yes.
So you can actually balance studying in university and preparing yourself.
It is a natural extension of that. In fact, many states will allow you to sit for the CPA exam while you are senior, your last semester. Because the CPA, the nice thing about the CPA, it's an academic exercise. It's an extension of the courses you are taught here. Yes, sir.
If it's okay to ask, how can we compare CPA and CFA? What is the difference in career, for example?
Yeah. Well, the CPA, as I said, is a requirement by law if you want to start the accounting profession and doing the auditing function, the assurance services. The CFA is if you want to be a financial analyst. If you want to work in the stock market, then the CFA becomes very important. But this is not a mutual, this is not either or. They are like two different tracks. Most people, what they do, they'll take the CPA first. That will open up a lot of doors for you. And then if you end up in a job where they need a lot of financial analysis, then it will be nice to go and get your CFA. Yes?
So the requirement for the CPA is 1 to 8 hours, right?
One more time, please.
The requirement for the CPA is 150 hours. So
Not all the time. Not yet. It will happen eventually. All the doors will close. But if I were you, I will seize that opportunity now. We have one candidate over here sitting. She's going to speak to you. She was able to get it through only 120 hours requirement. All right, any other question? Well, maybe at this time, let me introduce to you Noor Al-Shehi. There's a question in the back. Yes, sir. No. This is each section taken at a time. It used to be when I took the exam, we have to sit for all 4 sections, and if you flunked one, then they do not give you credit for the remaining 3. But not anymore. Nowadays, there are windows of opportunities. You walk in, you take 1 section at a time. If you pass it, then that's going to be credit for you. You keep it only, though, for a year and a half. So you have a year and a half to complete the remaining 3 sections. Otherwise, the credit on the first one you've taken will expire. Yes, sir.
Actually, I've heard there are different states you can do it from. Different states.
Yes.
So which one is
Well, yes. For you to sit for the CPA exam, and as you all know, the CPA now is been given in the UAE, in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. And so that's a great opportunity. You don't have to travel to the United States. Last year, you had to travel to the United States. And so, 2010. You have to choose a state. And that state you register with them, you send your credentials to them, your transcript, they will evaluate it, and they will judge whether you qualify to take the examination. And but there are some states, I'll let Noor see how she found the state she's applied to, and she's now been a candidate for that state. Yes, sir. So.
Does it matter what state we apply to or which state we do it from?
No, it does not matter which state. The only thing you need is that letter behind your name, 3-letter CPA. Unless you want to go to the States, like I got my license in the state of Ohio, but when I moved to Illinois, that's where Chicago is, I have to apply again and get reciprocal agreements. So if you're not going to be practicing in the States, it doesn't matter which state. Any state is the easiest. You can register with them and take it under their umbrella.
But if I'm working in the U.S., I can work in any state?
Usually, once you pass the CPA exam, the state requirements vary from one to the other. Some states, Florida, for example, would not give you the license if you do not have the 150 hours, the master's degree equivalence. So you will have more difficulty with the state of Florida. But California, New York, the biggest, still, they are 4 years. 4 years, so it depends where. But once you pass the CPA exam, the rest is easy to handle. It's a matter of paperwork, and you'll be able to get the reciprocal agreement to it. All right, I'd like to introduce Noura Shihi. She is a student of ours. You graduated in May of 2011. And she's been working on the CPA exam. So I want to ask her the same question. Why did she want to be a CPA? And what she has done to start taking the CPA examination. All right? Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Well, as Dr. Yass introduced me, my name is Noura, and I'm going to start telling you my story behind CPA. It all first started when I first joined AUS. Like all my parents, my family, my aunts, my uncles, even my teachers in school expected me to go to study medicine, or be an engineer. And I didn't choose any. I came to business. So everyone was like, you went to business, you got this high percentage in school and you went to business. So I had to prove to them that studying business does not mean you're a loser or something. You can still be professional, even in business industry. So I said, I'll do the CPA. That was the first thing from the first year. And even then, when I joined AUS, every time I enter class, I get inspired by my professors. They always encourage me to do CPA, especially Professor Yass. If you go to his office, you see his certificate, and you'll definitely be inspired. It's like his whole wall is full of certificates. So, yeah. And then I started working, and even my professors, Professor Salama used to say, you have to start from now. Like, if you don't put an effort in your studies while you're studying in university, you're going to suffer while studying the CPA. It's not impossible, but it's going to be hard. I graduated last spring, and I started registering for CPA. It took me like 6 months to decide on a state. It was like, okay, the first thing I was choosing 120 hours. There were like 12 states, but that was not my worry. My worry was like, how will I acquire my license after that? So the easiest state I found, since I'm working with government, was Guam. And it took them 2 weeks to find me eligible and send my notice to schedule and registered. I started studying last September. I was very lazy at first, but I could do it at the end. Like the last 3 weeks before the exam, I was pressuring myself really hard to study. I did the first exam by the end of November. And to be honest, I entered the exam and I left. I'm like, I'm not going to pass. This was my reaction. The reason was, when I was going to the exam, everyone was saying it's hard and the time is not enough. And the questions are like difficult, and I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to pass. I entered the exam, and I was so worried about the time that I finished 50 minutes ahead of time. 50 minutes. I'm like, there's 4 hours. Why did I finish so early? I'm like, okay, I failed because I finished so quickly. I definitely did something wrong. But yet, I passed with a grade of 83. I was really shocked, but really happy. And that boosts your confidence to do the rest of the exams. Like even when I sat for my second exam, it was business. I was very lazy with studying, even lazier than financial. I'm like, it's okay, I can study. 3 weeks before the exam, I pushed myself to study. But 3 weeks before the exam, no one should talk to me at the house. And I got stuck in the exam. I think one of the memos, I got 15 minutes stuck. I was just staring at the screen. No idea what to write. Yet I could do it. And I passed with a grade of 85. Now I'm going to sit for regulations and auditing in May, too. The more you pass, the more confidence you find, the more easier it gets. Like you can manage studying and everything. How is this helping me? Well, if I pass my CPA, I'll be the first local in my company to have a CPA certificate. The only one that has it is the vice president, who I think is going to just have 5 more years in the company, and he's going to resign and leave. So that's a huge advantage to me. He's been there for a very long time. I'm lucky to have him as my boss. But seeing by his age, I don't think he's going to last for He'd want to rest at some point. So yeah, I have a great advantage. And every time I meet an employee and I'm doing the CPA, they're like, wow, you're doing the CPA. So yeah. Any questions? Like, one more thing, CPA does not prepare you in accounting only. It prepares you even in a broad areas. Like, just 2 days ago, I got my first assignment, and they were like, what do you know about budgets? If I hadn't done the business exam, I wouldn't know how to answer this question. And they're like, okay, you know this, go write the report. We did this audit, we found this, and write. I have to write even stuff from my mind. So without the CPA, I wouldn't have done the report. Any questions? Yeah.
Where did you sit for your exam?
In Dubai, Knowledge Village, Prometric.
Any certain GPA required? Or?
No, doesn't matter.
Are you studying from some institute or you study by yourself?
I joined for the first 2, but now I'm not joining any institute. It's too much because I have to go on the weekend to the institute and then study during the weekdays. And one other thing I found out, like the institute would help you 10 to 30% only. The rest is all on you. It's all on you. It's not on an institute. Yeah.
What was your GPA?
3.62. But still, you can do it. If you have a GPA of 3, you're still prepared for it.
We wish to have 3 though.
Then you're just going to have to give more time studying for the CPA.
I lost myself many, but is it a requirement that you should have a major, an accounting major to do this?
I thought that, but once I joined work, there was one who was, she had a bachelor in physics, and she still got eligible in one state. I think there's 2 states that allow for that. But these states don't give the exam here. It's only in the United States.
Well, let's clarify that. Yes, many states don't require a degree in accounting, but they will require you to have a minimum number of accounting hours, such as 30 hours or 24 hours or whatever number, depends from one state to the other.
So if you have a minor in accounting,
I should do it.
You should find states, yeah.
But I would think you are probably, if you were to finish the CPA, and we're very hopeful and faithful that you will be the only probably national woman having CPA?
I'm not sure of that.
No,
There is, I think there is.
A female?
there's a student, his name is Ahmed Sijwan.
No, he's saying female.
No, his sister. I'm referring to Ahmed because he was yes. But his sisters, both of them took it in California a while back.
Okay.
4 or 5 years ago. He's from Sharjah.
No, I think there were, like, I used to hear some.
Not Ahmed, but his sisters. Yeah.
Any questions? Well, if you ask me about the past two exams, I cannot give you the exact things. But once you enter the exam, some of the things. And it's mainly multiple choice, so.
Exam, how many hours does it require?
120.
And how many accounting hours?
24, I think.
24?
Yeah. I had extra accounting courses. I graduated with 126 hours. I took 2 extra accounting courses.
So that's the first stage, is that you sit for the exam and you pass it with a minimum of 75. Notice Noura has exceeded that benchmark, but you don't have to. Nobody's going to ask you what was your grade in the CPA. That question even doesn't come up. And so just you need to get the bare minimum of 75. So you pass the CPA, 4 sections. Now she has a year and a half to complete from the first day she took the exam.
So I finished November. I have the credit till May 2013.
Right. Now, so she's going to pass all those examinations. Then the second thing she said, she has to meet the requirement for the licensing. She's not licensed. She is certified. She passed the CPA exam, but that's not a license. Now, what do they require for the license?
For me, since I only have a bachelor, 2 years of experience. If you have masters for the state I'm with, it's 1 year of experience. And they mention a list of the things the areas you should be working on. And I think there's 5 types of licensing, not one. It's depending on your experience. Like if you want to go in a public firm for public accounting, they require like public accounting experience.
That's state of Guam.
Yeah.
Some states will require, even though they let you sit for the exam with 4 years education, 120 hours, but for the licensing will require 150 hours. So be careful when you study the requirement of these states. If your intention is not to come up with the 150 hours, then don't choose those states which will license you only if you get the 150 hours. You need that license for you to practice in this country, because they're going to ask you a certificate that says you've been licensed in XYZ state, authenticated by that state, and then it goes to the Secretary of State, the Foreign Ministry of the United States, and then to the UAE Embassy for you to register. That's what I have to do for my license. There's a question in the back.
Yes, you said it took you 6 months to search for a state that has the easiest requirements. How do you check for that?
I was checking Becker's. The Becker's website would give you they have these search criteria, and then you choose. I was choosing ones that require 120, but you find a lot of states 120, but if you dig further, as he said, license would require 150. But I took 6 months because I couldn't make up my mind. There were 3-4 states, but I couldn't make up my mind.
But if you go to nasba.org, they'll give you a map, and it has all the states. And then you click, and you'll take you to either to their states, or they will have the requirements state by
But
state.
it's easier to go to Becker's, choose the criteria, and then go to NASBA.
She's right.
I'm not supposed to ask a question, but the 120, the 150 hours, when is going to be 150 across the entire U.S.?
I'm not sure there's a decision has been made on that. NASBA is trying to streamline the differences, because we have huge differences in the number of hours required, in the licensing requirement, the practical experience, and NASBA is working hard to streamline that. And I haven't seen anything in writing that says when this will have to become a law. All the states 150 hours.
Just to say a word, everything that you have mentioned is here in this booklet, which can be corrected. The BECA website, the requirement, the licensing requirement is all here.
Well, where do we get that booklet?
They distribute it already.
I need to get a copy.
I just want to ask about the format of the exam. How is it? Is it all multiple choice? Is there a format that you need?
It depends. 3 exams has. 3 exams are multiple choice. 60% are multiple choice, and 40% are simulations. And one exam has 85% multiple choice and 15% is memos. But I will tell you one thing. The practice, once you enter an exam, once you take a book and you study, they put for you a review system. Through this review system, once you reach to the exam, you have solved at least a minimum of 2,000 multiple choice questions, at least. So that prepare you well. And even in my first exam, the financial, I had a question. It was exactly from the same questions I had in the practice. And I had no idea how to solve this question. I just clicked the answer and moved. Yeah, it was correct. I memorized the answers.
What courses you think that help you more in your preparation in accounting? And what course you think we should offer to help our students in this area?
I think 401 should be a requirement because it has governmental accounting, and governmental accounting is really hit hard in the exam. Really hard. Yeah, but I don't think it's a requirement, yeah? Yeah, it's offered, but it's not a requirement. Yeah.
So you think that 401 should be required?
Yeah.
Plus government.
It's included in 401 already.
Does you advise the students to take it?
They should. It will make things a lot easier. It made things a lot easier regarding the partnership. I had calculations and governmental, as I said, and the consolidation. The consolidation is not a huge part in the exam, though. It was governmental. Like, even while I was studying, I did financial the first exam because the information was fresh. So even while studying, I used to remember the courses I had. 302 is very important. It was giving me a hard time while I was studying. I was like, I should have put more effort in 302.
You advise us to be hard in our exam?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted, thank you, Noah, thank you very much. I don't know if you have time to take a look at another video, or you're pretty much fed up, or you're convinced of being a CPA. I don't know where you are with this. But, let me just say one thing, that I have been keeping a well-balanced careers in practice and in academia. And by the way, academia is a highly rewarding profession. Even for you, should not be out of the radar screen. You finish, especially if you're gonna do your master's degree, your CPA, then you can move into the PhD, and there's a huge shortage in professors in accounting, because as we've seen, they need 100, 200,000 students for the next 8 years. Who's going to teach and produce those students? So there will be demand on being an academician. But what I have done, because I enjoy both ends, I have dabbled heavily into the practice, but I have dabbled heavily into academia. But let me just say one thing. I've made more money being a CPA than I have being a professor. Okay? And my students graduate with undergraduate, with a CPA in 5 years. They will be making 1.5 times money than the amount I've been making as a professor. So the reward is huge. Having said all that, let me just share with you one more clip. This is a 4 minutes of a clip from Jennifer. Let's see what Jennifer has to say about careers in public accounting. What? Oh, it's coming up here.
My name is Jennifer.
Oh, here she is.
And I work at Ernst & Young.
Okay, my buddy's here. Let's see. Why is this?
My name is Jennifer De Leon.
Where is the voice? Where is the sound?
As an audit senior. It was actually very hard for me to pick a major.
It's there, it's there, it's
I knew
there.
exactly what I didn't want to do,
We
though.
don't
I
have-
knew that I didn't want to be stuck in a cubicle all day.
I don't know.
I knew
I can't
that
hear.
I
She
wanted
has
to
very
interact with
strong
people.
voice.
I didn't want it to be an isolated,
Yeah.
antisocial kind of job.
It's locked.
And when I got more exposed to
locked.
public
No,
accounting,
that's
I
not
realized
it.
that I would
We
have
had the other videos working.
own my own
What
job,
happened here?
build my own
No,
relationships
it's
with
full. This is full.
clients,
This is
and
full.
actually add value and work on real problems and real
It's awful.
issues.
It's locked. It's locked.
When I was picking up
IT help, please.
My name is Jennifer De Leon, and I work at Ernst & Young as an audit senior. It was actually very hard for me to pick a major. I knew exactly what I didn't want to do, though. I knew that I didn't want to be stuck in a cubicle all day. I knew that I wanted to interact with people. I didn't want it to be an isolated, antisocial kind of job. And when I got more exposed to public accounting, I realized that I would have an opportunity to own my own jobs, build my own relationships with clients, and actually add value and work on real problems and real issues. When I was picking a career, one person that was really influential was my sister, who was also a CPA. And my perception of a CPA before talking to her wasn't very positive. I always thought, they were nerdy, they were antisocial, they were dorky. But after really talking to her about the different career options, that's when I became more aware of what the job was really like. One thing that students find confusing about my job is that I don't have an office. I don't have a standard commute. People always ask me where my office is. Is it in Seattle? Is it in Bellevue? But auditors are more nomadic. We are client-serving professionals. So I might be working in Seattle one day. I might be working in the suburbs of Seattle in another day. I might be working in Los Angeles. I might be working in Toronto. I might be working in the United Kingdom. It depends on where my clients are located. One of the benefits of traveling so much in public accounting is that you rack up so many hotel points. And I love to travel. So when I was in the UK, I went to Turkey, Croatia, Scotland, France, all over Europe. And I even was able to use those hotel points for a whole week in Italy for free. I work with a different team every time I switch a client. It's very confusing because you don't really have a boss. You have multiple bosses. You work with different staff every time you're on a different audit. But basically, we're all kind of in a conference room and we're all working on things together. It's a very collaborative environment. The public accounting track is very well defined. You start off as a staff for a couple of years where you're learning how to audit cash, how to audit fixed assets, basic things on the balance sheet. And then eventually, one thing that I think is really great about the career is that as a senior, you're already managing jobs and you have staff whose work you're reviewing. And then after becoming a senior, you become a manager where you have the more technical background, where you're overseeing the audit. And then gradually you go to senior manager and then finally partner. It's a high performance culture, but I would say it's primarily isolated to a couple of months during the year. We do work a lot of hours during that time frame, but we're kind of all in it together, and I think that's actually when most of the team bonding happens. I drink a lot of coffee during the busy months, and we always have to take mental breaks together as a team to make sure that, everyone is still mentally there after the exhausting weeks of busy season. Number one, definitely keep your grades up. Technical excellence is really important to the job, and we're very focused on quality. Secondly, I would say involve yourself a lot in extracurricular activities. Get as much leadership, mentoring, tutoring type experience as you can on college. There are a lot of opportunities to do that. And then lastly, engage yourself in summer internships as much as possible. It's one thing to have a 4.0 and have perfect grades, but someone who has a good GPA, but also has work experience and shows that they're able to juggle a lot of things and handle a stressful environment is definitely someone who would succeed in this role. Accounting is definitely not boring. So in my past 3.5 years at Ernst & Young, I've worked on audits, I've worked on mergers and acquisitions, I've worked in recruiting, I've worked all over the world in Canada, the US, England, the Netherlands. So the amount of travel and the diversity of the experience that you get with all of the different industries is not boring at all.
All right, that's it. We're done. Thank you.
One last thing, please. For all those who are interested in knowing about the requirements for the exam, the content of the exam, and all those technical things, on Wednesday at 3:30, also in the same room, we'll have Morgan International coming to talk to you about all these requirements and specifications of the exam. Thank you to Dr. Yass and Noura for their speech.